Russia. So I think that from that point of view, it's important to note that India's strategic autonomy has been fully maintained with the conclusion of this deal. That's one point. I think the second point I think is very important, that India was able to respond with great calmness, in a very collected manner, in a very patient manner. In fact, today when Prime Minister Modi addressed the NDA members of Parliament separately in a meeting, he spoke about this, that we were very patient and very restrained in our responses, and that's been very important because it has really set India up on a very high pedestal in the statesman-like way in which we responded to the American imposition of tariffs, especially when we knew that this special tariff of 25% on purchase of Russian oil was completely discriminatory. And China was buying much more oil from Russia, the EU was buying much more oil from Russia, Turkey was buying much more oil from Russia, but the tariffs of 25% special tariff was imposed only on India. And I think still our response was restrained enough to draw the admiration of many countries around the world, and I think we have got the benefit of it now. I think the other question was on the figure of 500 billion. Now, yeah, this remains an uncertain figure till the details are known, till the details are revealed. But I'd like to say that in February of last year, exactly a year ago, when Prime Minister Modi visited USA, and that was a very good visit, his visit to Washington, D.C., in the joint India-US statement at that time, the figure of $500 billion appeared as the target for India-US bilateral trade by the year 2030. So certainly we do anticipate a very large increase in India's imports from USA, and of course equivalently a large increase in India's exports to USA. And the overall figure is already agreed at $500 billion. If there are any additional purchases over and above, I think certainly we will know about them when the details are revealed. There has also been statements that on agriculture goods that there will be some purchases. I know there was always talk of some adjustments there in a way that will not affect the Indian farmer at all, but will will not affect his income or his sale price to the government or to other resources. So I think there is some of that definitely. But the tariff going down to zero on all American goods, this is not, again, the figures have not been revealed, but maybe there will be a reduction in the Indian tariffs on American imports into India. They may not go down to zero, but maybe.
Very good afternoon. You're watching Newsx and I'm Shivani Singh. US President Donald Trump announced a massive tariff cutoff and the trade deal with India in a long social media post. And according to Trump's statements, which was seconded by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the 50% tariffs on India have now been reduced to 18%, proving to be positive for Indian exporters. Union Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal will also soon address the Parliament over the US-India trade deal, giving a detailed rundown of the entire deal. But until then, the details of the deal, there are some questions that loom over the deal. Number one, will India stop buying Russian oil? Number two, will US sell oil to India at discounted price? Number three, will India reduce tariffs on US products to zero? And number four, will India-US oil deal affect our ties with Russia? Do deals with US and Russia offer the best bonanza for Indian exporters? These are some of the questions that remain unanswered right now. But to take this discussion forward, I am joined by a host of guests. CA Vinod Rawal, tax and market expert, Professor Arvind Singh Tejawat, international affairs expert, Rajiv Gupta, economist, and Ambassador S.T. Munir, former diplomat. In fact, let me go across first to Ambassador S.D. Muni for your thoughts about this entire deal that is coming to the fore, because a lot of questions, sir, but we do have one thing for sure. We have finally seen a reduction in the tariff rates. This is something that the Indian traders were looking for. This is something that the Indian markets have also rejoiced at, the reduction in tariffs, even though there is an ambiguity regarding the details of the deal. But just the fact that tariffs have now been reduced, we were at a point in time looking at 500% tariffs. That threat was still looming on India, and now it has been reduced to 18%, sir. So how are you looking at this entire situation, Ambassador Muni?
Well, to begin with,
All
I
right.
think it is
I apologize, Ambassador. We are getting live broadcast from the Lok Sabha. We are cutting across to that.
पक्ष में हुआ, हाँ वालों के पक्ष में हुआ, प्रस्ताव स्वीकृत हुआ। Please be seated. Please be seated. No, no. सभा की कार्रवाई बुधवार दिनांक 4 फरवरी 2026 को प्रातः 11 बजे तक के लिए स्थगित की जाती है।
All right, so that was the Lok Sabha. It has been adjourned again due to the ruckus that has been created. In fact, let me go across to Ambassador Muni if he's still with us. So, apologize for having interrupted you, but please do go ahead.
To begin with, I think it's a positive development which we all should welcome. Certainly the markets, the businessmen, the exporters will all welcome it. There is absolutely no doubt about that. Therefore, kudos to the government for maintaining a kind of diplomatic stance which has resulted into this outcome. But then there are questions, as you said very rightly. The very first question, or the number of questions which arise out of is due to the difference between the statement made by Trump on the one hand and the statement made by the Prime Minister on the other hand. The three differences are very vital. One is that we will have to completely stop buying oil from Russia, number one. Number two, we will have to buy it from Venezuela or some other places. That is a part of it. Number two, we will have to buy 500 billion worth of goods from the United States, which Trump says. And number three, that we will give zero tariff on the American products. It's not very clarified as to in what areas. Is it agriculture? And if it is agriculture, it's a kind of a big problem which we will have to face. Or what are the other areas? This is where I say the agreement still is not, or details are not out, and there is a question. The related question arises that will we spoil relations with Russia? I don't think so, because we had started reducing oil imports even before this. And Russia is a long-standing friend, would understand the compulsions and the pressures under which we are working. And Russia may find various other customers as well, because the argument which Trump has made that now since India would stop buying oil from Russia, the Ukraine war will come to an end, which is ridiculous and absolutely irrelevant. It has no basis that a Ukraine war is because we are buying oil from Russia. This is an argument which is being repeated by the Trump administration time and again, but forget about that. Now, if we have done it, or if we are going to completely stop from Russia, if we are going to buy, as Trump says, 500 billion worth of goods, if we are going to give zero tariff to the US, and if the other conditions which buying from Venezuela and others, if we are accepting all the terms which Trump has spelled out in toto, then I find there is a little dent on our strategic autonomy, which should not have taken place. I think the government needs to clarify it as to what are the conditions under which this agreement has come about. I repeat, I welcome it. It is a very good agreement. It is positive for India. But under what conditions we have accepted that remains to be seen, and that That could be my first response or reaction to it.
Absolutely, Ambassador. In fact, we will have Piyush Goyal addressing the Parliament and introducing the details of the deal. But before that, just the announcement has created quite a cheer in the markets. There is a very good sentiment. The fear that was in the market seems to have vanished because Sensex climbed, Nifty 50 climbed, the rupee has strengthened. Let me in fact get rope in CA Vinod Rawal on this. Mr. Rawal, obviously a very welcome announcement by the markets. Stocks are going, the textiles industry, the leather industry, everyone is rejoicing.
Yes, Shivani. Good afternoon. First of all, thank you for taking on the show, and thank you, my participants. The thing is, actually, now the market is booming up. I will not say that it is the start of the bullish market, but it is certainly a embarkment on that side. So market is now going at that side. You know that stock markets works on sentiments. So just one news has changed the idea about it. On the other side, we are expecting now GDP to grow from 7.4 to go to 7.5 with just this one deal, the details of which are just expected to come, as Mr. Moni was saying, that we are just waiting for that, how the things moves on. But on the other side, there are certain sectors which are really going to be benefited with it. Our export market is going up. Even rupee has been stronger today by 1%, which has not happened in last so many days, and we were hoping. So at least now a platform is there on which we were just crashing down, and now we have taken a balance to start again from here. So we hope that this was the only deal which was pending, because we are already done with EU, we have already done with other countries. Regarding the Russia, which you talked about, the issue, I don't find anything about that, any negativity in that. So I do expect that stock markets and other markets will really behave bullishly now, and at least we expect a recovery out of it, and we are very hopeful on that, because so many aspects are dependent on it. Even NRIs living there were disturbed with all these things. So at least that sentiments are there. Now you can say that in a home, when two brothers are there who are not talking to each other, now at least we are in a global village in a world. So now we are at least discussing the things, and coming down from 15% to 18% is, I think, a good number. We are hoping for I think, a good sentiments, sanity to come down. Thank you.
Right. In fact, Rajiv Gupta, who's also an economist, sir, how are you looking at this entire reduction in tariff? Because there are a lot of questions that remain unanswered. Ambassador Muni also pointed out towards that $500 billion purchases that India might have to do if that is one of the conditions. We are also looking at no buying of Russian oil. The markets obviously are cheering because they do respond immediately to any announcement that's made. But in the long term, how are you looking at when the details of the deals are revealed?
Well, Shivani, good afternoon to your viewers. I think first of all, what Ambassador Muni said, if those things are correct, then of course there is a problem. But if you ask me, knowing how these trade deals are usually done and how long it has taken to conclude it, to my mind, the details of this 500 billion, etc., these are just rhetorics which are being done. I am sure they are not part of the document, because we were doing just about 40 odd billion. We were buying 45-50 billion from US. In fact, there was a deficit of trade. We were just buying 45-50 billion while we were exporting 85 odd billion. So I don't think it can go to 500 billion right away in whatever form or fashion that we try to do it. So I think these are rhetorics, and I don't give too much of credence to what Trump says on Twitter and what he kind of announces, because that is political posturing which he probably does to his own people. To my mind, I am very happy about the deal having happened, because 4, 5 months, 6 months back, when this whole drama had started, I had at that time also said that this is unsustainable for US. Actually, it was not much that India was losing in the process. We were definitely looking about 0.5% of GDP growth becoming lesser because of this, but our options had opened up because of the EU-India trade deal, because of the other free trade deals that we had done with other countries like UAE, Australia, UK, etc., etc. So question is, we have to first understand that there is about $40 trillion of import export which happens in the world, out of which $4 trillion is done by US, but there is 36 trillion which is happening in other parts of the world also. So question is, when you put tariffs on one party and don't put tariffs on other party, the only thing that happens is that readjustment of what goods are going from where, that happens and nothing else. Of course, in the short term, it gives a shock. But it is very interesting that even after the tariffs had been put, India's exports to US were rising, probably because people had preempted and they had sold, upfront. People had imported upfront, and I had always maintained that the tariff is not a tariff on the world. It is the tariff on their own consumer. It is a tariff on US consumer. See, let's understand it. They import about $4 trillion from the world. If that $4 trillion thing that is coming into their economy, if that is taxed at an average of say 25-30% more, then the imports become more expensive, and it is their consumer who pays for it. So there is nobody else paying for it. So, to my mind, it was unsustainable for them. To my mind, this is a style with which Trump operates. He basically puts a big roadblock first, and then tries to negotiate from there. I think India maintained very good diplomatic posturing. I mean, it was duck diplomacy is what they call it. On the surface, everything was cool. There were things happening below the surface in terms of getting things done in different ways. In the process, I think the EU-India trade deal and other trade deals happening, US was also looking at them, and probably must have found that they are now going to be totally separated from the world. I mean, the world is moving in a different direction. I mean, if you really look at it, if you listen to the Canadian Prime Minister's, what he spoke at Davos, so it was very clear that he was saying the mid powers of the world should unite. BRICS was becoming stronger. So geopolitically also, whatever moves US had done were probably counterproductive to them themselves. So hence this deal happening in a manner that has happened, I think is no surprise to me. Number two, I am very confident, knowing this government very well. I mean, I am very confident that we would not have given away the kind of things that are being projected. We have categorically maintained that we will be protecting our agricultural economy, and we will not be allowing agricultural products to come into India. As far as zero tariff is concerned, I think that is also shown as an intention to phase out slowly, to go towards that zero tariff, and I'm sure that must also be on selected products. See, we have to understand that there are certain products. It is very interesting, in fact, suppose we reduce tariffs on Tesla, for example. Now, reducing tariffs on Tesla does not make too big a difference, because that price range in which a Tesla comes in, it only sells to a very few percentage people. Our automotive industry has matured enough that they have that price range of 15-20 lakh rupee vehicles which are there and which are all pretty good. So a vehicle which comes, suppose the tariff is reduced and some vehicles come from there, I don't think it is going to make any difference, large difference to our own industry. So I am very, very sure that all these things must have been taken care of. Yes, there was a trade deficit between the two countries. So there must be certain things that we would have probably allowed on tariffs which are lesser, so that that tariff can be the trade deficit can be equalized. As far as the Russian oil is concerned, again, I think it is something which is being said by Donald Trump. Of course, he has to take a posturing while doing this, that I have not sort of come down and I have made them, agree
Right.
to everything.
Right.
I am very, very sure, 101% sure that nothing like this is going to happen.
Absolutely.
It
Let me
is,
let
it
me let
is,
me also get in Arvind Singh Tejawat on this. Sir, how are you looking at this entire deal? The timing of it all. We have the External Affairs Minister currently in the US for the rare earth ministerial, and now we have the announcement. This was something that India was waiting for. We were looking forward to a reduction in the tariffs.
Thank you very much, Shivani. I must say that the Vinod Rawal Sahab has taken a optimistic approach. The Rajiv Gupta Sahab taken a balanced approach, and ST Muni Sahab told everything but very nicely. But probably I might not be as much nice when I'm commenting on a present deal. I suppose that the senior ministers at the level of foreign minister and the home minister, they reacted on a social media platform X at a very early stage, and it was premature comment, I suppose, when the President Trump is really making a negative comment. What the Rajiv Gupta Sahab has already made assumption. The President Trump said that India is imposing the 0% tariff, then of course it's not a good news for us. In other hand, do you think when the Tesla already been referred and some other Apples, if they are selling in an Indian market on a 0% tariff or the taxes, then do you think that the Indian businessmen or the traders, they will sustain uh, def, uh, uh, definitely not. And in term of agro product, I am very much sure that the government will not lean down because we have already seen the unrest in our Hamsaya neighboring countries in Sri Lanka, Nepal, and so I don't think that the present government will go for a risk to means go against the farmers definitely. So in that case, the government will not go for any compromise. But if we see in the term of the other tariffs, then it has been reduced the 7% only. But the Trump's that tweet is already silent about that tariff, which is being imposed due to our relationship with Russia and what we are purchasing from Russia. So due to that, the Trump tweet is almost silent. And Trump spoken about the agro products and many other products. I believe that in that case, if the India is agree with the Trump, then India is losing its strategic freedom, what the SD Muni Sahab already mentioned. And you see that from the decade of 90s, we are squeezing our energy sources, the petroleum sources. If we start from the Iraq, and then after we look at Indo-Iranian relations, then the United States is already making too much pressure on us. And India is a developing country and really looking for energy sources. In that case, if we follow the American conditions, then I suppose it's not a good news. It is when the United States not even having a minimum respect, the organization like WTO. If the United States might give opportunity like what the European Union is giving us, a free trade treaty or something like that, then it could be the good news. But if the United States is asking us to pay the tariff, it's not a zero tariff, it's a 17% already. And if we are comparing through the other China, then definitely it is very less than in the term of the reciprocal tax, the tariffs. It's definitely it's very less. But if we compare the all over tariffs, then it's not very much less. So India must look at his own strategic freedom and must plan accordingly. And only in that case, I suppose the India can go for a future roadmap. And I believe that in the 90 decade, we really made a good economic reforms, but these were the external economic reforms. So we need to go for the internal economic reforms. We need to make a MSME more stronger. Only in that case, I believe that the India can really plan for the future and with the full strategic freedom. That's the only way, Shivani.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, let me introduce this piece of information that is coming in to our viewers, that industry body ASSOCHAM has welcomed the tariff cut under the India-US trade deal, saying that it will sharply improve the cost competitiveness of Indian exports in the US market. ASSOCHAM President Nirmal K. Minda has said that at an 18% tariff rate, India now enjoys lower duties than key competitors including Bangladesh, Vietnam, Sri Lanka, Taiwan, Pakistan, Indonesia, Malaysia and Thailand. He added that even major exporters such as Canada and South Africa face higher tariffs, placing India in a relatively advantageous position. Minda also said that Indian exports were earlier hit by the nearly 50% tariffs, including reciprocal and punitive levies, and the reduction to 18% marks a major improvement and a significant breakthrough for made in India products, improving access to the world's largest economy. Let me in fact rope in Mr. Rajiv Gupta on this first. So when we are looking at the industries body, like we have been mentioning since the start of this show, that the markets, the sentiment is very optimistic. They are very positive about this trade deal, even though there lies some ambiguity, there are some questions that are being raised, but overall the outlook is very positive. And in fact, we have the ASSOCHAM also saying that this will give a boost to our Make in India products, because earlier the industries which were labor intensive like textiles, we have been mentioning that, leather goods, our marine exports, they all had been hit because of that 50% punitive tariffs. And you know, even though the country had tried to give them a boost through the budget this time as well, these reduction in tariffs was something that was needed for the industry. Isn't it, Mr. Gupta?
Well, Shivani, as I said, I have maintained this all through. I am again reiterating it. There is a lot of trade which happens outside of US also. Of course, a trade deal with US, resurrects the market that was already there. So it will help us grow even faster. I mean, because whatever was being taken away because of the trade, because of the tariffs, it was resulting into probably 0.2, 0.3% reduction in GDP, or maybe up to 0.5%, which had to be made up by diversifying our exports to other countries, which was already underway. If you really look at it, we had been doing this trade deal with EU for last, from 2007 onwards, we were at it, but it had not materialized. Because of the stance that US took against everybody, it helped us to materialize that deal. And believe me, I would be really, really surprised if India has given up anything while making this deal happen. I don't think we were under any pressure to do this deal. In fact, we were moving calmly and doing our deals with other countries so that exports from our country can happen to those countries. So, see, question is we had to just diversify and it would have gone to other countries, while US probably was under more pressure because their own consumers were facing the heat. I mean, when imports to a country, when they put duties on imports, and majority of the countries, if they put duties on, then all that it will do is result into more expensive products back home. So they were under more pressure, number one. Number two, even geopolitically, US was now under more pressure because as you saw over the last 1 month, 1.5 months, you saw a stronger BRICS happening. You saw a lot of countries who were allies with US trying to move away from them. Because of his Greenland claim, the countries of NATO, which is European countries, trying to move away from America in terms of total alliance with them. So I think we have maintained our strategic autonomy. We have categorically said again and again that we will maintain that strategic autonomy. I have heard Mr. Piyush Goyal several times. I mean, I sit on the Council of European Business Group. In 2016 also, he used to say that we are a different country. We understand our negotiating platform and we are only going to go as much as required for doing any deal. He was at that time talking in terms of EU-India trade deal. But I think to my mind, I have no doubt on it that we would not have given away things that Trump is claiming that India has done. I don't give too much credence to what Trump says on his media handles, etc. Because according to him, he stops all wars in the world. So I mean, he can say anything, but and also probably he's required to do it. See, please understand. I mean, he also has to maintain his political standing within US, so he would say certain things. I am almost sure that nothing of that kind would have happened. There would be some things that probably we could have given away in terms of some products on which duties could be reduced, etc., which would be done, which is pretty normal. Even in the EU-India trade deal, you see we have cut down import duties on cars and wines, etc., because some of these industries are pretty mature in this country, and if there is some amount of this thing which comes from a different country, it only impacts, it doesn't impact the masses. First of all, it impacts maybe a certain this thing, so it doesn't make too much of a difference. So it is a welcome thing, for 100% welcome thing. And I think with in the process, in fact, it has probably helped us. His stance over the last 6 months has helped us to do a lot of other free trade deals. So we have a lot of places where we can now export. I am sure it will give a fillip to the industry, because whatever was being taken away from US would also now happen once again the way it was happening earlier. As as the SOCHAM president Inke Minda Sahab is saying, who's a dear friend, that basically it is, if you look at competitive countries from which other countries export, we are in an advantageous position. The China plus one strategy, which US always wanted to do, is also looking on the cards. I do not understand why and what kind of thing had provoked the US administration to take the stance which it had taken for the last 6 months. To me, I think it is going to be the world coming back to a little bit of normal. Also, probably US cannot afford that there is nobody by his side. I mean, if you really look at it, last few months, who is on US's side? I mean, Europe is going away. There is everybody else going away. Canada is going away. Brazil is going away. Everybody is in a kind of in a kind of animosity kind of a situation with US. So I think it was they were under more pressure to do the deal. So I am dead sure that this negotiation would have happened in that environment, and hence India would stand to gain. And the other things that are being said, I mean, first of all, to my mind, $500 billion is not possible in a year. I mean, you may stand on your head, it will still not happen. So, I mean, there are certain things which are just not possible. So they are probably over a period of time, they can say, okay, if in 10 years we will buy $500 billion, that's fine. Over 10 years, we'll phase out certain this thing to zero. That's fine. Is there anything immediate? Probably the only immediate thing is the 18% that has happened from their side, 50% to it.
Right, sir. In fact, we are getting some more inputs regarding this, that the Kremlin has now said that it has received no official statement from India regarding reports that it would halt Russian oil purchases. Following US President Donald Trump's remarks on the issue, Kremlin officials have emphasized that their strategic partnership with India remains most important and that they intend to continue developing bilateral ties. Let me rope in Ambassador Muni on this. Ambassador, you also wanted to reply to Mr. Gupta, and apart from that, we have this new development that's coming in from the Kremlin, where we have the Russian authorities stating that they have no communication that India would stop or halt Russian oil supplies, because this is something that has been mentioned in Trump's social media post.
Well, I think there are a couple of points which I just wanted to underline, not necessarily to counter Mr. Gupta, but he was underlining again and again the largest, that various export markets which are there. Yes, this is true. but the US was the largest, one of the largest export markets for India, and we were making a good deal of profit out of that kind of a transaction which was there. So we were under the worries. Now, if the US, if the deal had not come, in terms of searching other markets, our reliance on China would have increased severely, which we don't want it. I mean, even at the moment, the kind of dependence which we have on China in trade is not very welcome, and we don't really like it. Secondly, India has accepted some of the pressures from the US. Please, I mean, the US is not, they are a power bully. I am not appreciating them, but they are forcing people to do what they want them to do. On Iran sanctions, we did follow. Your budget doesn't have a penny for Cha Bihar this time. But let us look at it. Secondly, on Russia, we have reduced our oil imports. But the argument which we have given is the market is changing. The market remains whatever as it is, but we have reduced, and probably we have given some undertaking that we will reduce it further, which I said is not being clear because Prime Minister has not countered all the 3 points which we are discussing here of the 500 or zero tariff or Russian oil or whatever else it is. And not only that, Prime Minister has now accepted Trump as the peacemaker of the world. I mean, look at this man who is looking for Nobel Prize, who is grabbing Nobel Prize from that Venezuelan lady and bragging about it. He has walked into Venezuela. He's threatening Greenland. He's forcing himself upon Gaza, and we call him a messiah of peace in the world. We didn't say that all that time. This now we have said. So please let us have no illusion. I mean, yes, we are a big country. I know I am quite conscious of the fact that India is a fastest growing economy, and India has the largest population in the world, even more than the Chinese. So our market will grow, and there is no country in the world which can ignore India. I am quite certain about this kind of a thing. Secondly, if the US has continuously to have a tug of war with the Chinese, they will need major powers in Asia and cannot ignore India. So yes, I mean, there are compulsions on the US of different type, but don't ever assume that the US has signed this deal on the terms dictated by us alone. They have also dictated some terms. We don't know when the details of the terms will come. We will know where we have made compromises. Any agreement is a win-win situation. Any agreement and treaty is a mutual compromise. It is not a one-way traffic. That is the point I want to underline.
Absolutely, Ambassador. In fact, this is something when you're looking at a trade deal, you have to give some, you have to take some. Before I get into and rope in some more guests on this discussion, let's look at how the markets are. Let's look at the current situation, what the values of the Sensex, what the values of Nifty are. So on your screens right now, you have what the BSE Sensex looks right now. It is trading at 83,739.13. It's up by 2.54% just today. And remember that if we track the last 5 days, you can see a huge increase in this index because with the budgets the markets had gone down, they'd seen red, and finally the markets are now in green. We see the BSE Sensex trading at 83,739 and it is up in fact 2.54% today. That is 2072.67 points. So this is a high that we'd like our markets to see, because over the past 2 days we'd seen it bleeding. And let's look at Nifty 50, how Nifty also looks like. Nifty 50 is also in the green today. It's trading at 25,718.40. In fact, 25,727.55, and it's up 2.55% just today. So let's see how it looks like over the past 5 days. So you can see over the past 5 days a very similar upward graph like the Sensex. We are seeing the markets in green. We have in fact mentioned how the stock markets were thrilled with the announcements. Let's look at NSE over here. The NSE is also in fact mentioning the Nifty 50, which is at 25,727.55, again in the green. Otherwise, we had been seeing that a little downward movement. You can see over the past 1 month it's a little down, but now it's picking up pace again. Let's also in fact, this is how the Indian markets reacted. The Indian markets, as you have been seeing, all in green. But let's look at how Dow Jones, let's look at how Nasdaq, let's look at how S&P 500 are also trading today. The deal might or might not have a direct impact on this, but let's look at how these markets are also looking like. So today Dow Jones Industrial Average is trading at 49,407.66. This is up today by 1.05%. And let's look at the 5-day average. Again, the 5-day average has been positive. There has been a growth in the graph for Dow Jones as well. Let's look at Nasdaq. Nasdaq is trading at 23,592.11. Which is 0.56% up today. So a slight increase over here in Nasdaq, and over the past 5 days you can see that this has seen a dip. It's in red. However, today it's trading in the green. It's seeing an upward trend of 0.56%. Let's also look at S&P 500, which is trading at 6,976.44, which is 0.54% up today. And let's look at the 5-day average, again in the green. So like I mentioned, these markets may or may not have an impact on the US trade deal as much as the Indian markets. We saw Nifty, we saw Sensex all in the green, but these will have some kind of effect because we are also seeing agricultural products in the US. The US might see up to 0% tariffs on US America made products. So this is also gift Nifty, where it's trading at 25,812.50, up 2.69% as of February 2026, 3:30 p.m. So these are how. Let's also look at some of the stocks, how some of the stocks are trading today. TCS, this is TCS stocks. It's seeing a green upward market. It's trading right now at 3,225.30. This is up 1.76%. Let's look at Reliance. So these are some of the top stocks that we got for you. Reliance is also in the green, trading at 1,437.10, up 3.36%. Remember, there are a lot of markets that have been, industries that have been affected by this. Let's look at BSE. It's trading at 2,860.80, up 5.89%, and even HDFC is looking at 948.70, up 2.22%. So you can see that the markets all rejoicing right now. We have some of the leading stocks as well in the green, which was not something that we had been seeing over the past 2-3 days. Let me in fact rope in Mr. Rawal on this. Sir, obviously when we look at the stock markets all in the green after a slump that we saw, but when we are looking at these free trade agreements, we saw that even in the budget, sir, the government had tried to provide incentives for the sectors that were affected by those punitive 50% tariffs. So, the government had introduced something for the textiles industry, the government introduced something for the leather goods. We also saw some kind of incentives in the marine industry which had been affected by these 50% punitive tariffs. So, India was kind of becoming resilient in itself, but now that we have a reduction in the tariffs by the US, the markets obviously seeing an upward trend. Do you see this going forward? Do you see that 0% tariff that American goods might look at? Do you see that affecting the market value somehow?
Shivani, I will agree with Rajiv Gupta sahab that basically this is the need of US. We have become resilient in last 1 year. In this tariff era, we have learned how to live. If you really go back 3 years back, in 2020, even India was the only country who fought COVID in a different way. We are the people who struggles to it. We know how to fight, contest all these things. So if you really see today, your textile sector has boomed by 20%, banking by 8%, and incentives which were announced in the budget. So if you mean to say that the government was not aware of that this tariff deal is coming to very close, they already announced that we are very closer to finalizing this deal. So whatever incentives are being given to these kinds of industries, marine, leather, textile, and other export-oriented sectors, basically now government wants to make them resilient. So if anything happens in the days to come, even then we are in a position to face that. On the other side, the rejoicing in the market today is two-way. One is the sentiment. Whenever any problem gets vanished away, everybody feels happy at least. Whatever benefits are going to come, that is the days will tell when the deals will come, whether the agriculture sector is being opened for them or not, or the tariff deals with the tariffs which India is going to reduce on the items that has still we are not aware of. So we are just waiting for all those informations. But on the other side, the market is really rejoicing on the sentiments. On this news itself, at least this problem is over. Why? Just about the Trump, he boasts so many things. He says on something like you were telling the news from the Russia that India has not communicated for any stoppage of oil purchase from them. So how can this? He has stopped all wars. Even India-Pakistan war, he himself, even today he says, I have got it stopped. No party agrees to it. The fighting parties never said anything that he has done anything. But he always says that I have done it. Now this tariff, this must be, I don't feel that my Prime Minister has bent down to anything. He must have taken the deal in the interest of the country in such a strong way as he poses himself every time. I cannot believe it that he will go. He is a man, he never talked. He says, I've called 5 times, but Mr. Modi doesn't talk to me. If these kinds of things comes in the open market, how a country can react to it and what kind of reactions are expected? I think Mr. Modi has behaved in such a way that he has not spoken even a single word of these tariffs in this whole 1 year. He has not spoken. Now straight away, now 18% tariff which you talk, I think 18% percentage must have come from the normal tax rates in India. We pay 18% GST on most of the items. So I feel that he must have taken, okay, we impose 18% GST, you also impose 18%, we will impose on your imports. And Rajiv Gupta Sahab, as you rightly said, this is a cost to the citizens of that country. Whenever tariff is increased, this is the import duty. I was selling a good at 100 rupees. My good price has not changed. It is only the taxes which is making costlier to them. You have given an example that is very true. And for my country, how much American goods we consume, how much American goods we are importing. The numbers I'm not going to talk at this place because we have very less time left. The thing is, we have very less imports, whereas our exports to them are very high. Now we have other markets also opened up in this era. I think he has taught us so many things that don't rely on one economy. Don't rely on alone US. And I also agree with you that no other country is by the side of United States. So I am very optimistic from the market point of view. I'm optimistic from the other point of views. Yes, all these things, whenever a war gets stopped, how much losses happens, that's a secondary thing. But on the other side, it's a happiness which at least we are a happy country. Our employments will go high. The people our citizens who are working there, they were in trouble with this tariff. This is not only the tariff war. It gives a negative impressions to the citizens also. It hits them somewhere that what is happening between the two countries. Today, we were listening a few days back that he is going to impose 500% tariff. Now it is the other way around. It is coming. He's reducing it. It was a surprising news to everyone. So I believe, I'm optimistic. I believe, yes, this tariff era has opened markets for us, for the whole world, EU, your Australia, your New Zealand, other countries, even UK agreements. Lots of agreements have happened. And I still expect, I still hope that now we are not going to rely only on one market. We are not going into a comfort zone. Now it is time to
Absolutely, absolutely right, Mr. Raval. I think that's what India has been trying to do over the past 1 year, make itself resilient, sign those free trade agreements with various countries, including the EU, the UK, Oman. We are seeing so many free trade agreements so that we don't have to, rely on a single partner. But US remains to be our largest partner, trading partner. Let's look at some more inputs that are coming in. CII President Rajiv Memani has welcomed the expected reduction of US-India tariffs to 18%, calling it a major step forward in the strategic economic partnership between the two countries. He said that the Confederation of Indian Industry congratulates Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal for leading constructive talks and securing the deal with India's most important trade partner. Memani said that the move will improve the global competitiveness of Indian products and support manufacturing growth, job creation and stronger supply chains. All right. Let me in fact go across to Yatish Rajawat, who's joining us on the broadcast. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on the broadcast. We appreciate your time. Sir, when we are looking at this entire tariff reduction, how are you in fact observing this entire situation that is currently unfolding? The details that we have is 18% reduction of the tariffs, and we have a certain questions that loom large, sir.
So basically, this is an interim deal in that sense. These were tariffs which were levied on us as almost penalties of sorts, and they're reducing them from 50% to 18% is step one. The details of the deal are not fully public yet, but I think the negotiations will continue and to bring it down to zero, hopefully. We also don't know that how this will affect some of the major industries like automobiles, steel, which were heavily tariffed by the US government. I know that the stock market is cheering it, and rightfully so, because it is a good beginning of sorts, and the fact that it happened so fast also shows the fact that Indian government held its own in terms of the so-called bullying techniques adopted by US government in levying these unilateral tariffs on India. What we have given back in return, there are only, there's no concrete proof or source about whether we will continue to buy Russian oil or not. I don't think so that would be a make or break for the deal, because we've already reduced our dependence on Russian oil quite a bit. Whether we will now, as Trump hinted in one of his tweets, that we will buy Venezuelan oil is again up in the air. But I look at it not as a conclusive deal. I look at it as an interim step in a final deal, and I'm still waiting for the details to be public.
Absolutely. In fact, let me also introduce some other guests who have joined us right now. CA Manish Gupta, finance and market expert, and we obviously have Professor Arvind Tejawat on this. So let me first, we in fact also have Karori Singh, foreign affairs expert, joining us on the broadcast. So if I can go across to Mr. Singh first on this, sir, how are you looking at this entire development geopolitically? Because Russia says, we have a statement from the Kremlin saying that India has not informed us of any sort of halt in Russian oil purchases, and India remains mum about it. We are yet to see the details of that deal, but this seems to be finally a thaw in the US-India relations, which had been quite strange. We, we had seen Trump administration officials stating that we'll put 500% tariffs on India and its goods. But now finally there seems to be a thaw. We are seeing, only 18% tariffs. So how are you looking at this entire scenario?
You see, Shivani, I would like to carry forward the Yati's argument. In fact, we have got into a vicious habit of coming on a hasty conclusion. Yesterday, when President Trump's post on X came and our Prime Minister responded, immediately commentators and economists have started concluding that rupee will be strengthened, the corporate entities will be the gainer, and then GDP will be increased, and so many. They started calculating without knowing the details about the deal, what type of deal is there. Since the Trump put tariff and the penalty that 50%, India already started diversifying its trade towards other countries and intensified bilateral agreements with group of countries and individual countries. So India already diversified. So Indian economy did not have much negative effect. But now, since Trump has announced the 18% tariff, what type of tariff India will impose on American goods, that is not clear yet. And so so many things shall have to be clear. Thereafter, we can say something. Of course, the stock market is very sensitive. It immediately reacts and responds to any type of financial and economic change. So share market is increasing. Of course, that is the good thing. But beyond that is countries, huge country like India, the physical economy is more important. The people at large are more important. How this deal will affect the physical economy of India. And second thing is people's well-being in India. Definitely MSME will get some boost. When the tariff will be low, Indian exports to US will increase. But beyond that, things are not clear. So we should assess each and everything in a practical manner, systematic manner, once the deal is on the public domain, without which we are giving assessment, that is something speculative. So we should not get involved in all these things before the deal comes in the public domain. It's just one announcement from the US president. From our side, there is no announcement what type of deal we have entered in. So, Shivani, unless or until things become clear, we should not give any calculated assessment. We can give certain type of hunch and some speculation we can give. But it's a definitely one thing is important. The strategic positioning will certainly get boost, but at the same time, India had very good relations with Russia. India was highly dependent for its defense requirements on Russia. So how Russia will react and respond? So whether we will completely stop importing Russian oil or not, that is also not clear. So unless or until things become clear, Shivani, we should not be so speculative, at least on the national media. Right over, Shivani.
Right, sir. In fact, the rupee has strengthened by 119 points since today morning. We are seeing the markets obviously cheering the announcement because they rally with these short-term announcements. But let me introduce this piece of information that is in fact coming in, that the Ministry of Finance has now issued a formal statement on the India-US trade deal. The Ministry of Finance has stated that the India-US trade deal will further expand and deepen the trade between two of the largest economies of the world. It will create more opportunities for our labor intensive and manufacturing sectors in the US market and give impetus to mutually beneficial collaboration in high and advanced technology sectors. Let me in fact rope in Mr. Rajiv Gupta on this. Sir, we have the Finance Ministry giving out a formal statement. The ministry is stating that this will be a boost to a manufacturing sector in the US market. It will give a boost to our labor intensive sectors as well, and also India will be looking at a lot of collaboration in high and advanced technological sectors, sir.
Well, Shivani, I think first of all, I would like to say that whatever my colleague just said is true. We should not be speculating certain things. It's absolutely correct. However, given the circumstances in which this trade deal has happened, my sense is, as I said, I'm reiterating it, my sense is that India would not have given away too much, because I think, to my mind, the way the whole geopolitical situation was emerging, it was US who was under more pressure to do this deal. We had in the past few months done deals with other countries to diversify our exports. So I am sure that we would not have given away too much to get this 18% tariff from 50%, because probably if that was the case, we would not have done this deal. That is what my sense is. Though it is just a sense. I mean, it is not something which is steeped in specifics. But in the just assuming that India would not have given away too much, let us understand what India actually imports from US. I mean, India imports, for example, there are only two countries where you buy aircrafts from. So it is Boeing and Airbus. So both of them get quite a number of orders from all the countries. India is expanding. India's air traffic is expanding, and we would definitely be buying those Airbuses, etc. Boeing from US, and I'm just those kind of things, or some high-end army armaments, etc. We were already buying. We may still keep on buying those things. There could be certain giveaways that India must have given, because for a trade deal to be signed, you must be signing on something where you give something and you get something. But in the process, I don't think again that India has given away too much. The markets are rejoicing. I also don't give it too much credence, because markets rejoice at small things. However, having said that, because if you really look at it, everything falls in place. I mean, we had the budget that had come out had a lot of incentives for the MSMEs. Those MSMEs would get a boost if there is further market which gets opened. Even if we had diversified and we had got other markets opened up, the overall volume of exports could increase, which I think it will increase in this whole scenario. As far as imports from America is concerned, I am very sure that we would have given away things where our own industry is fairly mature, and where giving away a few things does not really give a big impact to our own industry. That is how I look at things. So I think in this whole scenario, if you really look at it, to my mind, whatever Trump has done for last 6 months probably has been a big gift to India, because in the process we hastened a lot of our own trade deals. The world has also understood that you cannot be relying on one country totally. The geopolitical situation has changed in the process, and I think India has emerged stronger in this whole whole 6 months of various kinds of things that have happened. So to me, this is a very welcome step. However, as my colleague said, we still are waiting for the details to come out. Anything which we say is based on assumption, but the way and the timing, to me, my assumption is that India would not have given up too much.
Absolutely.
Had it to give too much, then it would have done it before the EU-India trade deal. It would
Right.
not have waited till then now.
Absolutely. In fact, let me also introduce this piece of information that is coming in. The SPICE chairman and managing director Rajesh Singh has hailed the finalization of the India-US trade deal as a watershed moment for the country and a major boost for the Made in India brand. He congratulated the government of India on what he called a historic achievement. Singh credited Prime Minister Narendra Modi's leadership, saying that the agreement reflects decisive handling of complex global challenges while keeping the interests of India's 1.4 billion citizens at the center. Let me rope in K. Yatish Rajawat on this. Sir, you are the CEO for Center for Innovation and Public Policy. How are we looking at this deal actually strengthening certain areas? We had the Finance Ministry statement saying that there will be mutually beneficial collaboration in high and advanced technological sectors. We are also seeing how various industry leaders, in fact, are reacting to this deal, saying that it will create more opportunities, it will create, promote Made in India over there in, one of the biggest markets in the world.
I will again caution us on the side of conservatism here. This is a reaction from the US side. It has been driven by the US side. And this first sign of it is that they have reduced their tariffs first from 50% to 18%. We have not yet fully announced all the items or all the sectors that we will reduce the tariffs or we will or where we want an edge. Deal is also partly driven by the fact that we signed the EU deal, and it basically pushed US into a corner, because if we have the deal with the next biggest so-called geographical area that we export and import from, and where we have a surplus in our favor, and we signed that, and we've shifted both the goalposts of our future deal making and also our FTAs. So these are signs which must have been read properly by the US administration, and they realized the fact that maybe the pressure that they had levied on India by unnecessarily burdening us with these tariffs is not working in the direction of getting a deal signed, and hence they have taken the initiative from their side to reduce it. Now, what does it impact? Okay. Now, let me give you one sectoral insight. Some of the oil and energy stocks were shooting up in the stock market today. Now, the interesting thing is that they're shooting up because in the hope that they'll be able to export oil back to US, and we do. There are 2 or 3 companies, privately held companies, which do that. But remember this also, that for energy imports, there was no tariff. So these companies are neither affected positively nor affected negatively. But their stock has gone up. Similarly, we have seen the stocks of all automobile companies go up today. Now, if you were to look at it in the context of yesterday, when the market actually saw the largest crash in the last 6 years, then this is actually a recovery. So the market was really looking for an excuse to bounce back, and bounce back it did. So it is not totally a reflection of what happened with the US-India trade deal. It is more a reflection of what was the overreaction yesterday, and therefore there was a, there was short covering by both the derivative traders and even FPI. Now, but again, on the other side, there is an overhang, okay, which was on these both the stock markets and Indian exporters that was there for the last year or so, which had reduced foreign investment into the stock markets. As you know, that Indian stock market in 2025 was an underperformer compared to the top 5 stock markets in the world. We also did not receive any foreign portfolio investment of any sizable nature in the whole of 2025, and in right up to the time that we are doing. We have only been seeing these investors exiting the Indian market. So this overhang was largely due to the fact that there was this tariff hanging in the air, and investors, companies did not know what to do about it, whether they should, and this also had an impact on private investment. As you know, private investment in India has not taken off for the last almost 18 months now, in spite of the fact that production capacity is reaching its upper limit. And so this cloud of overhang has dissipated to a certain extent. Now, this dissipation does not mean that immediately things will change. Things will only change once the clarity is there sectorally, and secondly, the bottom line or the top line of these companies will only improve, or they will only start making investment, or they will only start increasing their production if they see a continuity in this tariff approach, because they will also have to plan not for the next day, but they will also have to plan their production at least for the next 6 months, 1 year. So they will also plan their exports or their increase in production if this tariff remains at 18%, or is it going to drop below 18%? And that will determine pricing, and that will determine consumption in US or their landed prices in US. So all these things are not reflected in the reaction of the stock market. The stock market, as we all know, is a typically does a knee-jerk reaction, as it did, on the budget day, and the subsequent day on the STT, which does not really affect the country or any companies, but the market came down, and today again it has risen by almost, the Sensex has gone up by 2.83%. The Nifty is up. Almost all stocks in sectors are seeing a boost. So there is no explanation for the whimsical reactions of a daily basis of a stock market. But yes, there is a fundamental shift which has happened. The shift is interim in nature. The long-term fundamental impact of that shift is yet to be seen, both on companies and on sectors, and it will hopefully emerge. And if you see you just read out the Ministry of Finance statement, it is a generic statement. It is welcoming it, but it is not giving any other details as to how have we dealt with the agriculture point, what have we done on the dairy side, and these were important sectors which were concerned at one point in time. What are we doing on the services import? Has the US government given us any reprieve on the H-1B visas, for instance? That was one of the biggest point for all IT services company in the country, because they export manpower, and so all these things will now roll out over the next, I think, 2 to 3 weeks, as we start getting more and more in details about each sector.
Absolutely, absolutely, sir. In fact, there is this piece of information I'd like to introduce for our viewers. Moody's Ratings has said that India is unlikely to immediately stop all crude oil purchases from Russia following the India-US trade deal. The ratings agency warned that a sudden halt could disrupt India's economic growth and may have inflationary effects. Moody's noted that while India has reduced crude oil purchases from Russia in recent months, it is unlikely to cease all imports at once. The agency also said that sectors such as pharmaceuticals and consumer electronics, which were earlier exempt from the 50% high tariffs, are unlikely to be affected by the tariff reduction. So let me go across to Mr. Singh. Mr. Singh, obviously you have been stating we are not going into speculation, but we are looking at the larger picture here. India-US relations, which were a little strained, are now finally seeing some kind of thaw. We are seeing reduction in these tariffs. That's why this is of significance. That's why this is of importance. Obviously, there will be some kind of statements coming out, because Trump has mentioned that India will stop buying US oil, India will look towards Venezuela. He has also stated that American made goods will see 0% tariffs. So these are some sticking points that have in fact spooked a lot of experts, a lot of analysts. But when we are looking at it overall, this reduction in tariffs is something that the Indian markets were waiting for. This is something that the Indian traders, Indian industries was waiting for. Moody's over here is stating that it's unlikely, and everybody, in fact most of the experts are of the view that it is unlikely that India will forego all kind of Russian crude oil purchases, because this is something that we have done obviously to maintain a relation with Russia as well.
You see, Shivani, it's a welcome step, and every one of us is hailing the announcement of the deal. No doubt it's a good step for India's interest, for US interest. But while agreeing with Rajiv and Yatish, I would like to add a couple of points. The first point is EU-India deal has facilitated the US-India deal. When we analyze the statements of US Trade Representative Geer and US Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent, it is very clear that US might have thought that if US does not enter in a deal with India, US will miss the bus. I think that is one of the most important facilitating factors, certainly. But beyond that, what has happened is the way deal has been worked out, and you have rightly mentioned that India will impose only, will be charging only 0 tariff on American imports. That's not the clear on which items India will charge 0 tariff, and on other items how much India will charge the tariff. That is not clear. So the details of the deal are not out, and the finance ministry's statement is a general statement. They have not divulged any information, terms and conditions, and still I personally feel there are so many nuances. These will be worked out through the negotiating skills of the Indian side. I think so many things are still to work out in the operational aspect of the deal, and I'm sure our negotiating skill will be appropriate to deal with the United States. But I would like to add a couple of things. What India is expecting from United States, it was made clear February 2025 in the joint statement. Why conceptualizing two? One is the trust and the compact concept under which they have put so many things, what India is going to import from United States, what United States is expecting. But beyond that, if we are trying to calculate the cost effectiveness of the trade agreement, cost effectiveness for United States, cost effectiveness for the India, not only in economic and financial terms, but also in geostrategic and political terms. These are, of course, not quantifiable. But while we are dealing in the international relations, India is becoming a major player in international affairs. We shall have to calculate in the wider context the cost effectiveness of the deal. And the last point which I would like to make, Shivani, is Indian economy is at the critical juncture right at the moment. It is on the takeoff stage towards the advanced economy. For India, it is more important than United States. So we shall have to very carefully or very tactfully negotiate with the American side in the operational aspect of the deal. Otherwise, details will not carry much meaning. So, from that point of view, we should assess the deal when it comes out, and thereafter we shall have to calculate exactly how far India will be gainer, how far United States will be gainer. Definitely, $500 billion trade was already envisaged in February 2025 by 2030. So it's the 5-year plan for the $500 billion. But beyond that, there was a vision of 25 to 35 that was also mentioned in the joint statement. So how this deal will boost that the 10 years vision of India-US partnership and US India cooperation. So we shall have to calculate this, all these things while assessing the cost effectiveness of the deal. And beyond that, one more point I would like to add, Shivani, about the India's farming sector. And this is the bone of contention, not today, even during the Dunkel proposals, when GATT round of talks were taking place, ultimately it was culminated into the WTO. So it's the old issue of the farming community. So how the Indian farming community's interest will be protected, that must be the top priority of the government of India. I think the government of India kept it at its top priority in the beginning of the talks for the deal. But at this stage, I don't know what will be the position of, because since Trump is saying, and even there is in the news and some reports in media that American farmers will get Indian market. So how the American agri products will be dumped into India, or how much India will charge the tariff on the American agro goods, that is a highly sensitive, political, and very important issue for India. Over it, Shivani.
Absolutely, sir. In fact, agriculture has always been India's red line. We'll see how it deals with US on that matter. But US lawmakers have in fact welcomed the new trade deal between the United States and India, calling it a reset in ties between the world's two largest democracies and a boost for trade, energy security and geopolitics. Indian American Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy has said that the agreement marks an important step towards forward after a difficult phase in relations. He said that stronger trade with India will support workers, businesses and innovation in both the countries and allow both sides to move past a period when sweeping tariffs strained ties and hurt both the economies. US Senator Steve Daines also described the deal as a clear win, praising President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He said that better access to India's market will benefit the American economy, including agriculture, and added that India buying oil from the US instead of Russia sends a strong global signal, though he noted that more work remains on the trade imbalances. Let me in fact go across to CA Manish Gupta, finance and market expert, who's also joined us on the broadcast. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. Sir, your thoughts about your observations regarding this entire reduction in tariff that has come to the fore, regarding the reactions of the stock market. They are all in green. The rupee has strengthened by 119 paisa. We are seeing a lot of cheer in the market. Industries are happy, which were once slapped with 50% punitive tariffs, now will only trade with 18% tariffs, sir.
Yes. See, these two signals are very important for us. One is surging the share market, and another thing is surging the rupiah, getting strong than dollar. See, this is, I can understand this. American president has approved this deal in little haste, because they must be getting the information that India may be losing day by day in their hand as a customer, as a alliance partner. You know, the deal done with European Union was a signal that India has secured its place for export, which it was doing otherwise with the America. So now it was immense pressure on by the Americans to President Trump, that we should start the deal with India also, otherwise we will lose a big supplier and big partner, because India was never bending down. So now they have come up with some deals. Deal part one: do not buy the oil from Russia. So whatever loss you are getting it because of the discounted price you are purchasing from the Russia, you may now take the oil from Venezuela. There must be some compensation in terms of price of the oil, because yes, Venezuela will not sell at the price of Russia, but definitely it will be some parity in the price of in compared to price of the Russian oil. One, America doesn't give any condition on the purchase of arms and ammunition with Russia, which is our strategic need. So we are free to purchase all kind of arms and ammunition from Russia. So our long-term partnership with Russia is still intact. Yes, Trump says we will not buy. India says we will buy less petrol from oil from Russia. So one thing is oil. America want to sell the oil of Venezuela, because tomorrow European Union may or may not be asking the oil of Venezuela. So they want to secure one reliable, regular and big purchaser so that they can sell the Venezuelan oil. One. Second thing is, it was the first need of America to enter into Indian dairy products market, which India was of course denying. However, in the agreement, here I can observe and understand that America has entered the dairy market to some extent in the product which India is either importing or India is not growing in their own our own country. So I mean, the government have some face saving statement that we are importing the product which we are otherwise not growing, which was otherwise importing. So that means here there is a chances that India will cut the custom duty tariff on the agri products to some extent. Yes, the details is yet to come, but this is the correct situation. And then third thing, America wants India to be the alliance partner in compare of China, so that America, US can handle the China by showing the India's power. Because now everybody knows that India has become a power after China. So at least America wants some alignment with India, so that it can stand behind the India to support and to confrontation with China. Also, it was the wish and desire of America that India should not go very close to Russia, because by doing trade at cheaper price, and that too in Indian rupees versus ruble rupees, was a dent to American dollar, which America was not liking. And also there were very high chances that America, this BRICS country may start their own currency, or the deal with European Union country may be in their respective countries' currency. This may dent the American dollar's kingship. So American people did not want it and like this situation, and this is the reason that Trump was forced to do this kind of deal. Here, India has to purchase $500 billion in the US, purchase and investment in the US. However, on the other side, India will have to install the lot of manufacturing plants in India, and India will get the technology transfer. The professional of India and professional of labor and India professional Indians will go there. So then, because of the surge in the manufacturing units and the job opportunity at US, the Indians will get more job prospects and more business opportunity because of this deal. So now we can say with the pride that yes, India is the country which is doing business all over the world, whether it is US, whether it is America, European Union, whether it is Japan or Australia or Sri Lanka, Pakistan. Now, one more thing we need to consider, that it is a geopolitical deal as well as strategic alignment. So now India is balancing three sides of the world. One side is Russia versus China, India is handling this sweetly. Other side is European Union, India is handling. and the third side is America, most powerful country, India is handling. So I believe this is the time of multi-alignment by Prime Minister Mr. Modi to handle three angle in the same style. Yes, this time Modi has responded to Mr. Trump. Otherwise, in the prior time when he was claiming otherwise things which were not acceptable to India, Mr. Modi did not accepted that. But now at this juncture, as this deal, Mr. Modi has said thanks to Trump on behalf of the entire people of India. That means Modi ji want to connect all Indian with the American deal. So this is a new change and new era. I may say it is little success of Indian foreign policies division. However, deal could have been little better also if the Trump was little I mean reasonable. Since Trump has become little jittery and he was disturbing every country, including their own very close friend like South Africa to China to England and other European Union countries.
Right.
So at this tough time, India has done the multiple alignment, which is not simple and small things. We must
Absolutely.
appreciate Mr. S. Jaishankar and Mr. Modi for this.
Right, sir. In fact, we have another piece of information coming in that the India-US trade agreement has received strong praise from both the sides, with the White House calling it a major win for American workers and industries. White House Deputy Press Secretary Kush Desai has described the deal as historic, saying it secures trade ties with one of the world's fastest growing top 5 economies. In fact, we have some board reactions that are coming in from our domestic leaders. Congress leader K.C. Venugopal has launched a sharp attack on the India-US trade deal, calling it the most obvious case of capitalization India has ever seen. Citing President Donald Trump's announcement, Venugopal claimed that India will reduce tariffs to zero, while the United States will continue to levy 18% tariffs on Indian-made products. He also alleged that the US is dictating terms of India's energy choices, including who the country can buy oil from. Venugopal said that agriculture was India's biggest concern and warned that if Trump administration officials are to be believed, the Indian market could be flooded with American agricultural products, stressing that over half of India's population depends on agriculture. Venugopal said that such a move would be a death sentence for poor farmers who cannot compete with the American agriculture industry. He further criticized the deal for being finalized with complete opacity and demanded that the government place the full text of the agreement along with the EU-India FTA on the floor of the Parliament for a detailed discussion on the future of India's economy. Apart from this, we also have Samajwadi Party President Akhilesh Yadav, who has attacked the government over the India-US trade deal, saying that opening Indian markets to American agricultural produce amounts to a betrayal of nearly 70% of the country's population dependent on farming. Yadav also alleged that the BJP and its allies were agents of foreign interests even before independence and continue to be so today. Let me in fact get in a final word from Mr. Singh. So, Mr. Singh, overall obviously we are seeing a lot of positive reactions, but we are also seeing the opposition state some very valid points. We have the agricultural sector, which we have not in fact discussed, because that's something that even across all the FTAs that India has done with many countries, they have not touched the agricultural sector, because that seems to be our threshold, that seems to be our red line. We are not going to go into deals, but we have American leaders saying that American agricultural products will flood Indian markets. We have some other concerns as well, that US made products will see almost 0% tariffs, India will continue to see 18. So, obviously some kind of criticism as well, Mr. Singh, coming in. Final thoughts from you.
You see, Shivani, the criticism by opposition parties is quite valid in the sense India is a democratic society. So whatever the ruling party does, whether at the domestic level or international level, the opposition parties will try to make political capital out of it. It's not unusual in a democratic society. What's the valid point is the deals, terms and conditions and detailed points have not come out. So without knowing the deal, what exactly is the deal and how the nuances of the deal will be worked out at the operational stage, their Indian negotiators must exhibit their negotiating skill. So that is more important. So right at the moment, we most of us are hailing the agreement that it's a good sign both in the US side and Indian side. But detailed criticism will be made. Even we people will critically analyze the deal and its terms and conditions where it will be in the public domain. But without knowing so many things, how we can have a critical perspective of the deal right at the moment? Otherwise, India's share of international trade is not very significant comparing India's size and India's ambitions. So India shall have to expand its trade. And Indian policy planners are focusing on that, how to make India an export-led economy. Till today, India is the service sector-led economy. So India is gradually focusing towards the manufacturing export-led economy, and for which how this deal can be helpful, whether US will be able to start some joint venture, technology transfer. So many things are coming in which are directly associated with the manufacturing and the production side. So all these things, when will come out, we will definitely in a calculated way, in a rational way, we will assess. Right at the moment are the political statements, general statements. If deal is there, it will be good for everyone. Like that statements, they are not much relevant. If opposition is criticizing, that itself is not carrying much significance in the sense, since the deal, the deal is not out at all. When deal will be out, definitely opposition will criticize. They may raise certain valid points, and there may be some reform or some changes in the deal itself during the negotiating process while dealing with nitty-gritty of the deal. Over, Shivani.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Singh and Mr. Gupta, for joining us on the podcast with that valuable perspective. We are now shifting focus to some other news coming in. The Lok Sabha has suspended 8 opposition MPs for disorderly conduct, including throwing papers towards the chair. Among the MPs suspended are Manikam Tagore, Gurjeet Ojla, Raja Waring, A.B. Eden, Kiran Reddy and Venkat Raman. The Speaker condemned the incident, calling it a breach of parliamentary decorum, and stressed that such actions would not be tolerated during the budget session. While Priyanka Gandhi is slamming the House for this action, Union Minister Giriraj Singh says that this disorderly conduct would not be tolerated. Let's in fact listen in to the 2 of the suspended MPs.
जनता के हक के लिए जो भी आदमी लड़ता है उसको ये गायब कर देते हैं या फिर सस्पेंड कर देते हैं। जनता का ये प्रश्न है, चाहे किसानों के प्रश्न हो, एजुकेशन के प्रश्न हो, रोड रास्ते डेवलपमेंट के प्रश्न हो, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की बात हो, लेकिन ये सरकार बात नहीं करती है।
Take is only one thing. We were protesting against the decision of the government not to allow the leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi to speak. Yesterday whole day leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi ji, as a customary thing, leader of opposition was having 4 hours to speak. He was disturbed again and again and again and again, and he was not allowed to speak.
All right, so you heard over there the suspended MPs who stated that they were just trying to make sure that the leader of opposition in the parliament in fact gets a chance to speak and reply to the president's address, and to let's in fact discuss this further with my colleague who is joining us on the broadcast, Anand Singh. Anand, we are getting to know that some MPs have been suspended for disorderly conduct. Could you take us through the details, please, Anand?
Yes, Shivani, look, the way in which several of the Congress MPs, they were protesting inside the lower house as leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha who wanted to speak on the president's motion of thanks. So clearly, Rahul Gandhi, as yesterday we have seen that how he has mentioned about General, one is a memoir mentioning that how the Chinese tanks were coming closer to India's border. So clearly, he was not allowed to speak yesterday, and when he made the reference, then he was cited the rule by the speaker. So clearly, the House was adjourned for the day yesterday after facing adjournment for twice. So clearly, once again today, same kind of situation was witnessed in the Lok Sabha when leader of opposition was not allowed to speak on that, and thus several of the Congress MPs they went in the veil as they alleged that this is not good for parliamentary democracy, as leader of opposition was not being allowed to speak and his mic was being shut when he rose. And then they also alleged that how the leader of opposition wanted to address the House on President's motion. So clearly, they mentioned that they have been suspended for remainder of the budget session for raising the voice of opposition, as the government only wants to listen what they want to listen. So clearly, these are the allegations that the suspended MPs have put on the government after they were suspended for unruly conduct in the House as well as for throwing,
Right, Anand. Thank you so much for all those updates. We're looking at some more news coming in. Adani Defence and Aerospace have announced the signing of a memorandum of understanding with the Italian defence major Leonardo, which was earlier known as Augusta Westland, to establish a fully integrated helicopter manufacturing ecosystem in India, eyeing a huge military market. According to estimates, the cumulative requirement of the Indian Armed Forces, Army, Navy, Air Force and Coast Guard for helicopters in various classes totals to over 1,000. This includes 300 plus light utility helicopters, more than 300 medium lift helicopters and over 100 intermediate helicopters and over 90 maritime multi-role helicopters. The MOU, signed in the presence of Defence Secretary Rajesh Kumar Singh and A. Anabarasu, DG Acquisition at the Ministry of Defence here in the national capital, will focus on targeting the Indian Armed Forces requirements, particularly for Leonardo's AW169M and AW109 Trekker-M helicopters. The collaboration will deliver phased Indianization, robust maintenance, repair and overhaul capabilities and comprehensive pilot training. Let's in fact listen in to what Jeet Adani, Director of Adani Defence and Aerospace, had to say.
Today we stand at a moment that carries meaning far beyond a corporate announcement. It is a moment that speaks to India's confidence, to our aspirations as a nation, and to our belief that the future of aerospace must be shaped not outside our borders but here by our own people. For decades, our armed forces have protected the nation across landscapes that test the limits of human endurance: towering mountains, vast deserts, dense forests and long coastlines. Their courage has always been unwavering. Our responsibility is to ensure that the capabilities that they rely on evolve with the same unwavering resolve. Today we stand.
Let me in fact go across to my colleague Shikha Shalaria, who is with us on the broadcast. Shikha, take us through the details of this MOU.
Yes, clearly, Shivani, this is a big MOU that has been signed between the Adani Defence and Aerospace. That's the flagship defence and aerospace arm of the Adani Enterprises Limited, and Leonardo, which happens to be a global leader in defence, aerospace and security. And this is aimed at addressing a lot of defence requirements of India. What both the companies are aiming at is to fuse Leonardo's world-class helicopter design with the engineering prowess offered by Adani's defence, end-to-end defence and aerospace expertise. And this also is a bid to ensure that, the Atmanirbhar Bharat vision that has been envisaged by the Prime Minister is advanced, and to strengthen national defence readiness with the potential to be extended to civil aviation applications and international supply chain integration. In fact, what is also being looked at is to ensure that this ecosystem promises transformative economic impact as what Adani Enterprises is claiming is that this is also going to create high-skilled jobs in engineering, manufacturing, logistics, and sustainment services, while cementing India as a competitive hub for helicopter production. Helicopters happen to be one sector which the defense and the Air Force especially have looked at several times in the hour of need, and helicopter procurement, helicopter development, shared development is something that India has looked at over the past several years.
Absolutely, Shikha. I think this is a deal that will have remarkable effect on the Indian manufacturing industry. With that, we are wrapping up this bulletin and slipping into this short commercial.
MDH की देगी मिर्च,
देगी मिर्च का तड़का, अंग अंग फड़का।
MDH की देगी मिर्च,
जो भी पके ऐसा पके, जहाँ भी हो जो खींचा चलाए, मीठी बिल्ली हो या पुलियो गिरे, वांगी भात हो या पोड़ी मसाला, रस पाउडर या सांभर मसाला, असली मसाले सच सच MDH MDH।
MDH की देगी मिर्च,
देगी मिर्च का तड़का, अंग अंग फड़का।
MDH की देगी मिर्च।
अगर आप बनना चाहते हैं एंकर या फिर आप में है जुनून एक तेज तर्रार न्यूज रिपोर्टर बनने का, तो आप ज्वाइन करें ITV और इंडिया न्यूज Newsx का मीडिया स्कूल। ITV नेक्स्ट मीडिया इंटरनेशनल स्कूल का कोर्स आपको मौका देता है देश के दिग्गज एंकर्स के साथ काम करने का। ITV नेक्स्ट मीडिया इंटरनेशनल स्कूल में आप बेहद नजदीकी से देख पाएंगे किस तरह से ITV नेटवर्क के दिग्गज पत्रकारों की टीम दिन रात खबरों पर काम करती है। इस कोर्स के दौरान आप सीखेंगे एंकरिंग की एक एक बारीकी उन एंकर्स के साथ जो देश को रखते हैं हर खबर से बाखबर। ITV नेक्स्ट मीडिया इंटरनेशनल स्कूल का ये कोर्स आपके एंकरिंग स्किल्स को करेगा इतना सशक्त, मजबूत, जिससे आप बनेंगे पत्रकारिता की दुनिया का वो चमकता चेहरा जो दुनिया देखेगी और पसंद करेगी।
कभी खेलों के मानचित्र पर उत्तर प्रदेश सिर्फ संभावनाओं का नाम था, पर 2017 के बाद संभावनाएं संरचना बनी। जनपदों में स्टेडियम, ब्लॉकों में मिनी स्टेडियम और गांव में मैदान। खेल अब शहरों तक सीमित नहीं रहे। लखनऊ से मेरठ, वाराणसी
This week on the roundtable, we are taking a look at the danger our country faces from the number of Chinese imports that have been literally dumped onto our country. Our economy is at great risk. What can the budget do about it?
The budget is like an iron dome. It protects.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Newsx and I'm Shivani Singh. The biggest news of the day is the India-US trade deal, and Union Minister for Commerce and Industry, Piyush Goyal, is soon to address the media on the India-US trade deal. So this is the latest bit of information that we are getting for you. Piyush Goyal is expected to address the media regarding the India US trade deal. Obviously, we have been seeing a lot of enthusiasm in the markets since the morning. The sentiment is positive. We are seeing a lot of reactions as well come in from the US, where we have US lawmakers hailing this decision. Remember that US President Donald Trump had in fact posted on social media that there has been a reduction of tariffs to 18%, and he's mentioned a host of other things in that social media post as well. But let me first in fact go across to my colleague Anand Singh, who's joining us on the broadcast to give us some more details regarding this. Anand, we are going to see Union Minister Piyush Goyal in fact address the media shortly.
Yeah, Shivani, look, the way in which US President Donald Trump last night has announced the trade deal between United States and India, and even Prime Minister Narendra Modi acknowledging the same after having